I'm Kayleen Elliott, and this is my final presentation. I'll go ahead and get started. So, most of us at some point in our career are going to be faced to do this. Most of us dread doing it, however, it's inevitable that at some point in our career we're going to have to do this. What is it that I'm talking about? Oral presentations. That is why it is important to take and complete the oral communications course here at Colorado Christian University, because it gives students the proper materials and tools that they will need to be successful with oral communications during their career. Go ahead. So first today I'm going to talk about all the tools that I have learned that I'm going to use in my career from this course. Second, I'm going to go into detail on each presentation on the things I did well versus the things I need to improve on. And then finally, I'm going to talk about the biblical principles that are important to use or important to consider when making oral presentations. So the tools that I have learned from this course, first would be outlines. Outlines are a must. I have learned that, well, before this course, I never considered using an outline for an oral presentation. I used them for written assignments, but never put two and two together and thought it would be beneficial to use them for presentations. So basically, the outlines, what I've learned is they really help organize your thoughts and help provide a better presentation, a more well done presentation. It just organizes everything really well, and you're able to give a better presentation. Now that I've used the outlines, I couldn't imagine going back to not using one at all. Second, I've learned that it's important to be audience-centered, which means it's very important to pick relevant topics that are relevant to your audience, their needs and expectations. If you pick a topic that is not relevant to your audience, chances are they're not going to pay attention, or they're not going to understand the information, and basically it's not even worth doing the presentation if they're not understanding anything, or if it's pretty much, if they're not comprehending what you're saying. So it's important to pick topics that are relevant to your audience and what their expectations and needs are. Another thing is visual aids. Visual aids are extremely important because it helps emphasize your main points. It helps focus on your main ideas and helps get their point across a little easier. As well as such as PowerPoints, they help emphasize your main points, and when you have pictures with your PowerPoint, it helps multiply your audience's level of understandings. And then finally, another tool that I have learned that I can use in my career is understanding that mistakes are going to happen. So it's important to not dwell on your mistakes, just to continue on. If you misuse a word or say it improperly, just to continue on and don't dwell on it. Just repeat the word, say it again, very clear, and move on. If you dwell on the mistake too much, then your audience are going to pick up on that, and it's going to be very distracting. So mistakes are happen. We are all human, so just continue on and just keep moving forward. Now that we talked about the areas that the tools that I've learned from this course that I'm going to use in my career, the second part, I'm going to go into detail on each presentations and the things that I need to improve upon and the things that I did really well. The first speech that I did was the informative speech. The areas I feel I did really well was I think I provided a really good PowerPoint presentation. It had great pictures that helped my audience visualize what I was talking about. Also helped emphasize my main points. So I thought that was really well done. The second thing is I provided lots of information for my audience. I feel it was a great presentation full of helpful information about anterior cruciate ligament ruptures and how to actually repair those ruptures. However, some of the things that I could improve upon was during my presentation, I read from my outline and my PowerPoint a lot, and I think a lot of that had to do with nerves. I felt I was well prepared for the speech, but I did read from the outline a lot, and I think it was just because I was nervous. It was my first actual presentation for this course. Another area where I could improve was I used the word a lot, and since then I've continued to work on that. But the word I've noticed that basically it's a filler, so it helps you stop and think, and when you use the word it fills a negative space, so then it kind of gives your brain a little time to think. And so I feel during my informative speech, because I was nervous and I was reading from my outline a lot, I used the word a little bit too much. Another thing that I need to improve upon was the topic that I picked was great for my veterinary staff audience. However, I didn't really consider my other audience, which is the classmates. They had a hard time keeping up with my terminology and the information that I was providing because they didn't have a strong veterinary background, which I didn't consider that. I was only considering my veterinary staff audience. So that was another area that I can improve upon. Next would be my demonstration speech. Things that I improved upon was I didn't read from my outline as often. I read just a few oral citations, which I think is okay to do during presentations if you need to read from your oral or from your outline for something like that. But you need to make sure you're not reading from it too much. And I think I did that really well. I read a few things from my oral citations, and then I continued on to my demonstration and didn't use the outline at all. I also think I improved by picking a relevant topic. The topic that I picked, I think, was relevant to everybody because most people have dogs at home, and it's important for them to understand that home dental care is important for their pets starting at the age when they're puppies, from 6 months. You should be doing home dental care, but also it's important to do it with the regular dental cleanings as well. So I feel I picked a very good topic for my demonstration speech. Areas that I need to improve, again, I use the word a lot. Again, I think that's with my nerves. I tend to use that when I get nervous. I use the word to help fill that space. Another thing is my nerves. When I'm doing presentations, I get real nervous in front of an audience. So I think my nerves sometimes get the best of me. So I just need to continue working on my nerves and using the word Our next presentation was our persuasive speech. Things I did well is I felt a little more comfortable in this type of environment. By this point during my presentation speech, I had been making I've done at least a couple different speeches, and I've been working on this for 5 weeks now. And so I felt a little more comfortable presenting in front of my audience, and it seemed to go a little bit smoother. I also think I presented a lot of good information and did a good job at persuading our clients and our staff and the importance of why we need to persuade them to purchase our senior wellness packages, because we feel all these services are very beneficial. So I think I did a real good job at showing our staff how to persuade a client into purchasing, and I was very empathetic, and I showed concern for the pet, which is important when you're talking to a client. You need to show empathy, that we're here for the pet. We were looking for the best interest for your pet. So I think I did that really well. Areas that I need to improve, again, I use the word a lot, and I feel as time goes on, I will get better with that. I just think that with presentations, the more you do them, the more comfortable you're going to feel, and the more, the ums are going to disappear. So I'm hoping, I'm setting a goal that within a time frame, eventually those ums are just going to be gone altogether. Another thing that I need to continue to work on is my nerves. Again, I feel like I'm improving, but it's something that it's going to get better in time as I work more on it and do more oral presentations. I think it'll just get better within time. Next, I want to talk a little bit about why it's important to consider biblical principles when making oral presentations. Proverbs 12:18 says, "The words of the reckless pierce like swords, but the tongue of the wise brings healing," which I think this is a great scripture, because it basically is saying that we need to be cautious of what we're saying and how our words can, offend our audience. Some words can pierce like swords, so we need to be cautious of that. And even words, not only words that are verbally abusive or not only are the words abusive or there are other words that can be harmful as well. Words that are just tactless, or words that are, you're not showing any sympathy for your audience and their feelings. Those all can be hurtful words. So it's important to basically, for the words of the wise, to use faithful words that are true, gentle, and kind, uplifting, encouraging. In our presentations, we need to be, really, we need to consider our audience's feelings and use words that are encouraging, because we're not here to present information and use words that are piercing like swords. We want to use words that are uplifting and encouraging to our audience.